Well, if he wins the Super Bowl, is he a top 10 quarterback?
I'm not sure what the question is.
To me, it's if he wins the Super Bowl.
Oh, that okay.
If he wins the Super Bowl.
Well, so that's not what we agreed upon, but that's fine. It's already cemented as top 10 quarterback, but go ahead. You can preface
cemented is too strong, but I'm going to say if he wins the Super Bowl,
he's top 10.
He starts next season as top 10. After the first six or so, and this isn't a cop-out. It's fluid. I'm not trying to be funny.
No, I know.
It is fluid.
It goes back
between so many J-Lo, Dak, all these guys that, depending on the season they have, they're in the top 10.
So we agree. The 6 would be Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Stafford, May, Burrow.
Yes.
Like that. So that's. So yeah. I mean, listen. I think he's great. I think May's great, and May is getting the opposite of the Darnold curve. Having a year this great this early makes you feel uber optimistic.
He'll enter next season.
So those top 6 are there. And then the final 4, to Bruce's point, you have, and I am in random names, okay? Amongst Sam Darnold, Justin Herbert, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield. Did I say Jalen Hurts?
You did.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 10.
Brock Purdy.
Okay, Brock Purdy. Then there's 11. But that's 7 through 7 through 17 is there. Only 4 of those guys are top 10.
Yeah.
I am leaning yes on Darnold. I was leaning further before I saw that massacre of a graphic, Josh. He wasn't in the top 32 in anything. There's only 32
It's a long time ago.
It's 2 years, 3 years ago.
Gee whiz.
Top 10 for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Look, we can't see. We get stuck on what he was and some of the moments that he has. Like Wilds put it up there.
2 years.
It's been 2 great years.
Yeah.
And it does help that it's with 2 different teams.
2 completely different teams.
I think that helps him.
If we go back to Minnesota, it's like, oh man, he got Kevin O'Connell, he had Justin Jefferson, Addison, T.J. Hockenson. He had this great offense. Was it him? Or was it the offense? Was it the offensive play caller and head coach? Then it's like, you know what? Let's go to a different place. All we said, I don't think he can do it again. He's not doing it again. JSN, best wide receiver in football.
All of a sudden.
He was not that last year. He was really, really good.
If Dallas could trade, and maybe you have Dak cemented in the top 10, but if Dallas could trade Dak for Darnold,
that's the completely different question. What I'm saying, because they're 2 totally different quarterbacks. But right now, yes, you have to honor what he's been able to do in 2 different franchises for 2 consecutive years. I just think he's matured. He's developed.
I think he starts next season in the top 10.
Yeah, Mahomes Mountain has him in the top 10.
But I don't know that he stays there.
Damn straight.
But he's also going to say he could fall out.
Yeah, well, of course. Rich tapestry, and we got to see how he plays in the Super Bowl. But what I would say is this. Forget top 10, which is 2 hands. You can't count on 1 hand active quarterbacks who have had a better game in a bigger spot than he had 5 days ago. I think Mahomes, Hurts, Stafford, Allen are the only active quarterbacks who have played better in a game that big.
Precisely. I am pleased he enumerated all those names as it serves a crucial purpose. The emphasis must be placed on the fact that several of these other quarterbacks merit an additional degree of credit or a heightened consideration due to their demonstrated capacity to replicate elite performances on the grandest stages. We have observed Patrick Mahomes achieve this repeatedly. We have witnessed Jalen Hurts accomplish it on multiple occasions. Josh Allen has done so numerous times. Matthew Stafford has as well. One can reference other monumental games, those occurring in critical moments, playoff atmospheres, and high-pressure situations. It is possible to highlight that a particular quarterback performed admirably in a postseason contest, though I will refrain from specifying individuals here. There exists, in my estimation, a definitive threshold that separates echelons of quarterbacks. For some, this is evidenced by multiple appearances in conference championship games or several Super Bowl trips. Particularly if one is performing at an elite level across multiple Super Bowls, the impact on their perception is monumental. This very dynamic has been a primary propeller in the ongoing discourse surrounding Jalen Hurts. Should Sam Darnold replicate this feat, delivering an elite performance in the NFC Championship game, followed by an exceptional showing in the Super Bowl. The entire calculus shifts. This contrasts sharply with attempts to elevate a quarterback like Dak Prescott into similar conversations. Prescott has never produced such a performance. We have not even seen him participate in an NFC Championship game, let alone a Super Bowl. This is precisely where these evaluations become profoundly intricate. The foundational question, what genuinely constitutes a top 10 quarterback, lacks a universal standard. Personally, I employ top 10 more as a conceptual tier than a rigid numerical ranking. I have expressed this perspective consistently, often to some amusement. But my stance remains, there are effectively about 15 quarterbacks who could reasonably be argued as belonging in a top 10 tier. I categorize them by grouping rather than assigning a fixed number. When we catalog the current crop of starting quarterbacks, it is an exhilarating exercise because the league is currently saturated with high-level talent at the position. Each operates within unique ecosystems defined by roster construction, coaching acumen, and systemic support, rendering direct comparisons increasingly complex. Consider Dak Prescott, who serves as a useful reference point. His proponents will rightly argue that with a superior supporting cast or more inventive playoff play calling, his outcomes might differ. These are factors that must be meticulously parsed. The evaluation becomes even more challenging when a quarterback, like Prescott, repeatedly fails to advance deep into the postseason despite annual opportunities. For instance, there was genuine optimism surrounding the Cowboys this past season, with weapons like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, and a new head coach who initially inspired confidence. Observers shifted from preseason skepticism to mid-season admiration, noting how he had the offense operating efficiently. It would have been immensely instructive to witness his performance in a high-stakes playoff environment, a game against the Los Angeles Rams, for example, to serve as a concrete data point. Lacking that, we are left with dominant performances against collapsing teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which carry less evaluative weight. We intuitively discount such games, much as we dismiss Tom Brady's final game where he was forced to throw 60 times due to circumstance. Conversely, we have tangible references like Jalen Hurts in last year's Super Bowl, or Matthew Stafford in this year's NFC Championship. When Brock Purdy's name is introduced, one must acknowledge his last truly great performance was perhaps against the Green Bay Packers. This is not to assert he played poorly in other contests, such as the Super Bowl, but there is a distinction between competent play and a start-to-finish, dominant playoff masterpiece. Even with Patrick Mahomes, one could argue his last great playoff showing was the 2024 AFC Championship game, though it lacked the spectacular carry-the-team quality exhibited by Sam Darnold this postseason. This inherent fluidity and the shifting nature of big moment references, compounded by the fallibility of memory, is why reliance solely on postseason statistics is so perilous. Box scores from playoff games can be profoundly misleading. Examine Baker Mayfield's stat line from a specific playoff victory. On paper, it appears exceptional. Yet viewing the game reveals his performance was less a product of individual brilliance and more a function of scheme and opponent breakdown. Similarly, Jalen Hurts' Super Bowl stat sheet last season, aside from the record-setting rushing touchdown mark, does not immediately leap off the page without the context of how the game unfolded, the pressure of each throw, and the back-and-forth nature of the contest. The same holds true for Sam Darnold's recent performances. While his statistics are robust, they cannot fully capture the intensity, the difficulty of the throws required, and the clutch timing of his execution. Therefore, when we initiate discussions about which quarterbacks belong in a top 10 framework and begin listing names like Dak Prescott or Baker Mayfield, I believe Sam Darnold has currently earned the right to be placed ahead of them. This mirrors the conversation I previously engaged in regarding Jalen Hurts. Hurts, however, possesses a more extensive resume featuring multiple Super Bowl appearances and performances, alongside sustained regular season excellence despite narratives that seek to diminish it. Conversations comparing Darnold to quarterbacks like Mayfield or Prescott are inherently tricky, which is precisely why I altered my own approach to rankings and evaluations. I shifted focus to a week-to-week or season-specific analysis, deliberately ignoring the rich tapestry of past Super Bowl wins or prior accolades. I found it more revealing and engaging to assess performance in a present-tense vacuum. This approach is necessary because the reality is inconsistent. What does it signify if a quarterback has a great season, followed by a poor one, then another great one? Patrick Mahomes, by both statistical output and the subjective eye test, has not appeared his dominant self over the past couple of seasons. Does this invalidate his status as a top 10 quarterback? Baker Mayfield arguably had a better statistical season last year than Mahomes. I do not believe Mayfield is the superior quarterback, but that judgment relies on past performance as a reference point. This invites the frustrating circular logic often deployed. Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls, therefore he is better. This conflates legacy with current ability. Legacy conversations concern career achievements and accolades. Evaluating who is the better quarterback right now is a distinct dialogue. Yet, we inevitably use the past as a benchmark, referencing Josh Allen's or Jalen Hurts' great games in important moments. This raises a critical question. At what point does past performance cease to be a relevant evaluative tool? When are we no longer permitted to cite the 13-second game or Mahomes' Super Bowl performance from 2022 or 2019? How long can we leverage Jalen Hurts' 2024 Super Bowl showing or conversely, hold a poor performance against a quarterback? There are no definitive rules. These references are only valid if we believe the quarterback in question still embodies the same core talent and capability, merely constrained by contemporary circumstances like roster deficiencies. The entire discourse becomes muddled. We, as a football community, are obsessed with these hierarchical lists, especially during the offseason when various analysts and media personalities release their rankings, often featuring confounding placements that spark debate. These lists, however, are most useful as jumping-off points for a more substantive conversation. What does top 10 truly mean? How heavily should Sam Darnold's unsuccessful tenure with the New York Jets weigh against his recent revival? The answer is likely not much at all. His accomplishments with the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks have been extraordinary and deserve significant credit. The counter-argument, let's see him do it for another year, misses a key point. Not every quarterback is capable of maintaining top 10 status across an entire career. That sustained greatness is what separates the Tom Bradys and Aaron Rodgers of the world. It is entirely acceptable for a quarterback to string together 3 to 5 excellent seasons, interspersed with periods of merely good play, often influenced by factors like roster construction or coaching that we may not have fully appreciated in real time. Using Dak Prescott as the example again, there was widespread approval of his performance this regular season. The failure to reach the playoffs, regardless of whether blame is assigned to defense or other factors, denies us the critical data point of playoff performance. Baker Mayfield had moderate playoff success last year, followed by a season where his team did not qualify, thus preventing further postseason evaluation. This inherent lack of comparable opportunity makes these conversations so challenging, albeit entertaining and controversial. At their core, there is no objectively correct answer. For instance, I might agree that Patrick Mahomes is currently a top 6 quarterback, because that is a consensus, locked tier. But I am not entirely convinced he should be automatically granted that status based purely on current form. Technically speaking, Sam Darnold has outperformed Mahomes over the last 2 seasons. This does not mean I believe Darnold is the better quarterback, but it illustrates the tension between recent performance and historical pedigree. This ambiguity is why I historically pose questions like, was a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill better than Patrick Mahomes in a given season based on stats? The answer was always no, justified by Mahomes' past achievements or a Super Bowl win that season. Yet, this logic is inconsistently applied. Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl in 2024. By a pure rings argument, he should be ranked above Dak Prescott. This often does not happen, revealing that everyone employs different, often contradictory criteria. Some rely on bottom-line results like Super Bowl victories or MVP awards. When debating Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, a common retort is, he's a 2-time MVP. That is a legacy-based argument speaking to career achievements, not a pure assessment of current quarterbacking ability. We have never collectively settled on the governing principles for these debates. I believe Sam Darnold is a top-tier, elite quarterback. However, does he currently possess the same level of week-to-week, season-to-season consistency as a Josh Allen? No, and neither does Jalen Hurts. What fundamentally distinguishes the bona fide Tier 1 quarterbacks is their capacity for consistent elite performance. All quarterbacks, Allen, Mahomes, Darnold included, are susceptible to bad games and poor throws. The differentiation lies in probability. You are statistically more likely to receive a great performance from Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in a critical game than from Sam Darnold. If we assign arbitrary numbers, perhaps Allen and Mahomes deliver an A game in 8 out of 10 important contests, while Darnold might do so in 5 or 6 out of 10. He can reach the peak, as evidenced, but with less frequency. Consistency is the ultimate hallmark of elite status. Dak Prescott has undeniably played games that rival the best outings of Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. His deficiency is an inability to produce those performances with comparable regularity. This injects further complexity. Other quarterbacks may exhibit remarkable consistency, but operate at a very good level without frequently accessing a transcendent elite gear. Conversely, they might tap into that elite level only once or twice out of 10 games while maintaining a high floor. This is perhaps the realm inhabited by quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins or Brock Purdy. This does not diminish their value or preclude them from top 10 consideration in a given season. It merely acknowledges that performance is multifaceted and exists on a spectrum. Even the greatest quarterbacks in history, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, have had subpar performances in major moments. Therefore, it is inevitable that Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, and Dak Prescott will as well. The fascinating element is opportunity. Quarterbacks like Mahomes, by virtue of consistently leading their teams deep into the playoffs, provide a larger sample size of big moment games for evaluation. Teams like the Chiefs or Eagles with multiple Super Bowl runs allow their quarterbacks to build a more substantial resume in those settings. We have seen Jalen Hurts excel in multiple Super Bowls, whereas Matthew Stafford has only one appearance. This disparity in opportunity affects perception. A quarterback might be capable of delivering a great performance in 6 out of 10 high-leverage games, but if he only gets 2 such opportunities in his career, we may never witness the full extent of that capability. For a quarterback like Dak Prescott, perhaps a third matchup against the San Francisco 49ers would be the occasion for a legendary performance, one of his 6 out of 10 great games. It becomes, in part, a numbers game. This probabilistic framework, I contend, is far closer to reality than notions of a quarterback possessing an immutable top 10 soul. It is about performance, statistical output, and the rate at which they can access their highest level of play. To illustrate, while I do not believe Tua Tagovailoa is on the same level as Sam Darnold or Patrick Mahomes, I am confident that if he participated in 10 Super Bowls, he would deliver at least one absolutely lights-out, historically great performance. The capability exists across most quarterbacks we deem great. The differentiator is the degree of consistency and the frequency with which they can summon that excellence. A basketball analogy is apt. Any professional player can go 5 for 5 from 3-point range in a game. What separates Stephen Curry is the sheer volume and consistency with which he does it, game after game. I recall a perfect soundbite, the origin of which I cannot recall, discussing a player like Tobias Harris. The analyst noted that if Harris could consistently score 28 points per game, he would be Kobe Bryant, a Hall of Famer, a different tier of player altogether. He cannot. That inability to replicate elite production with regularity defines his career arc. This perfectly encapsulates the concept of performance rate and the expectations placed upon athletes. Therefore, when assessing Sam Darnold, the question is not merely whether he is a top 10 quarterback, but what rate of elite performance he can sustain. Does a Super Bowl victory this weekend cement him as top 10? What if he plays exceptionally well? 250 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, but his team loses? Under a wins-based criterion, he might be excluded. Yet, with an identical stat line in a victory, he might be included. This exposes the flaw in over-relying on wins and losses for individual evaluation. My perspective is that sustained performance and demonstrated capability in critical moments, viewed through the lens of consistency and opportunity, provide the most meaningful framework for these endlessly complex yet perpetually engaging discussions. Those are my comprehensive reflections on the subject. I am genuinely eager to receive your perspectives and analyses. What is your collective assessment of Sam Darnold? Has he cemented a place among the top 10 quarterbacks in the league? Does the outcome of the Super Bowl singularly determine that status for you, or does the quality of his performance hold greater weight? Please articulate your thoughts in the comments section below. I make a dedicated commitment to read every single submission. Whether your viewpoint aligns with mine or stands in direct opposition, I welcome the engagement. Let's delve into substantive discussions and spirited debates. But ultimately, let's ensure the discourse remains enjoyable. Please consider subscribing to this channel. We are in the process of cultivating a remarkable community here, and I would be absolutely delighted to welcome you as a participant. The ambition is to forge a digital space where we collectively feel a sense of connection and shared enthusiasm, and I believe we are making significant strides toward that objective. Also, please remember to like this video, as such engagement substantively assists with content visibility and algorithmic promotion. Thank you sincerely for your time and attention.